I'm Eric.
And I'm Ethan, and our project entails targeting fatty acid metabolism as a potential treatment for cancer.
So the research involves the interaction between cancer and the fatty acids. The fatty acids are important for cell membranes, and so if you can stop the cancer from getting the fatty acids, potentially you can stop it from making cell membranes and therefore shut it down. So this is potentially a new viable option for cancer treatment. Basically, the goal of the research that we looked at was to intervene between the cancer cells and how they actually go and get those fatty acids. And if they can stop them from getting them or slow them down, then you can slow tumor progression and cancer development. All right, so just some background information. Some of the studies that we looked at were getting more in depth with breast cancer. And so breast cancer is the most prevalent type of cancer for women in the world. It accounts for 25% of all cancer, and there's over 1.7 million cases every year. But just thinking about cancer in general, cancer cells proliferate and grow much faster than regular cells, so they need to acquire the building blocks for cells a lot faster. So what that means is they have adaptations to get nucleic acids, proteins, and fatty acids faster than regular cells do. And so the studies that we looked at mainly focused on fatty acids, which are really important to cancer cells because they are useful for energy storage, synthesis of membranes, generation of signaling molecules, and lipid droplet formation.
So now to look at fatty acid metabolism on the cellular molecular level, we're going to be looking at the cell membrane on the right side of the screen. Cell membrane is made out of a phospholipid bilayer. Phospholipid bilayer is amphipathic, which means it has a hydrophilic and hydrophobic region. The phospholipid bilayer is made out of fatty acids. So fatty acids are essential to cell membrane formation. Another part that fatty acid metabolism affects, another part of the cell cycle, it affects is cytokinesis. Cytokinesis is when the cell pinches in two and forms two daughter cells. So without fatty acids, cell membrane formation cannot occur and cell proliferation cannot occur. Enzymes involved in the synthesis of fatty acids include ATP citrate lyase, fatty acid synthase, acetyl coenzyme A, and carboxylase. So without these enzymes, fatty acid synthesis cannot occur, and that is what researchers are looking for. Chen and Li stated that the inhibition of these key enzymes can inhibit tumor growth, survival, invasion, and metastasis. Metastasis is when cancerous cells travel and spread to other parts of the body. So, if these enzymes are inhibited, we can inhibit metastasis, and
basically we can prevent the cancer from causing too much damage because we can keep it all in one place. Okay, so the article that we went further in depth with was called Breast Cancer Metabolic Crosstalk. Fibroblasts are hubs and breast cancer cells are gatherers of lipids. Basically, the title kind of explains the whole premise of the experiment. What they found was that the fibroblasts help the cancer cells to gather the lipids that they need. And so the question that they were looking to answer was, how are the fibroblasts involved with that lipid acquisition? And the microenvironment of the cancer cell is super important for how it acquires the lipids. What they found is that the fibroblasts make up a lot of that microenvironment. And so if that makes up a lot of that microenvironment, there must be a reason. And so they're trying to find out, why is it so prevalent? And so what they did was they did a study where they obtained cancerous cells and all the fibroblasts that are associated, two of which were cancer-associated fibroblasts, which is the main one for breast cancer, and then gynecomastia-associated fibroblasts, which is just another one. And so they tested these fibroblasts to see the different levels of acquisition of lipids. So they tested polar and nonpolar lipids. They measured this by counting the amount of lipids and also the fluorescence intensity. And so that was a quantitative and a qualitative assessment there. And then they also wanted to see if the hormones that affect your body affect these cancer cells and the amount of lipids that are uptaken. So they tested estradiol, estrone, and testosterone, two of which are female hormones, and testosterone is a male hormone but is also made in females as well. And what they found is that the cancer-associated fibroblasts, which again are the ones really necessary for breast cancer, they acquired a lot more of the lipids in the presence of those hormones. And so they're even beyond finding out that the fibroblasts are important, they're finding out that the hormones are important too. And so the findings specifically show that the fibroblasts help the cancer cells meet their increased metabolic needs. Basically, they're feeding those cancer cells that extra amount so that they can grow and split more and more than regular cells do. And so the implication there is that if we can somehow disturb or shut down these fibroblasts, we will be able to limit the fatty acid availability that the cancer cells have, and therefore we'll be able to disturb the tumor growth and the spread of these cancer cells. All right, so now that we've looked at that article, the trend with the research is towards the fatty acid metabolism. A lot of the different metabolisms are all being researched, but there's a lot more of the fatty acid metabolism coming up recently because it's been shown to have such a strong link to cancer. So altered metabolism of the fatty acids and just different building blocks in general helps cancer with its anabolic, catabolic, and homeostatic processes. Basically, the anabolic processes are really important when there's a lot of nutrients around. It helps them to build. Catabolic processes help when there's not many nutrients around. And then the homeostatic processes are important if there's oncogene activation or if there's a tumor suppressor or any other stresses on the cancer cell. Now there are enzymes that control the synthesis of unsaturated fatty acids. These have been demonstrated to be essential for cancer cell growth. And so by studying these enzymes, and maybe we can shut them down or hinder them or even competitively inhibit them, something like that, we can possibly come up with a cancer treatment. And so that's something that's being more developed. Specifically, SCD is one of the enzymes that we were looking at in one of the studies. And so targeting the fatty acid synthesis process is how we can go about shutting down the cancer cells as far as their growth and their proliferation.
After learning about this potential cancer treatment, we are excited to hear about future studies entailing fatty acid metabolism.
Cancer research is an exciting field and there's a lot of new research. And so while we looked at just a little bit, there's a lot more coming out and we're really excited to see what's out there. And so thank you for watching our presentation.